right, man. Apparently the Lions have a running back problem. They got rid of David Montgomery prematurely. Maybe they should have prioritized getting a rookie running back in the draft. And now they, shuffling through veterans, whether it's Trayvon Williams, whether it's Kareem Hunt, or maybe they might have to go trade for a running back off another team. I don't really know what it is. And, running backs are a dime a dozen, and, Pacheco got hurt. And then really, if you got, you moved up to get Snowy Vaki, you wanted to play a good special teams player. He's a safety / running back, I think, coming out of Utah. Now, you wanted to be a special teams player, running back. Now, he's been on the team 3 seasons now. You know what I'm saying? Now it's time for him to really, do his thing as a, contribute as a running back and, team up with Jahmyr Gibbs. And he's a big back. He can do a lot of the things that Gibbs can do. Athletic, shifty, can catch the ball out the backfield, supreme athlete, and then, 2-3 seasons in or going into his 3rd season or something like that. Guess what? He still's not ready. Still injured the whole 9. But check out Detroit Lions Talk playlist. If I say so, for 4 thumbs up the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel. So he's still injured. And you still can't depend on him. So once again, going back to the 2024 draft, you get bit in the ass. You draft Blake Miller. Hey, you supposed to have Giovanni Manu, be your, future right tackle. Going back to the 2024 draft. Now you got to, spend draft picks and money where you should have already had it. 2 guys can't get on the field because they injured. Vaki is supposed to be yo David Montgomery replacement. That's why you drafted him. And then 2-3 years down the line, it's been injury after injury, and he's still not prepared to carry the load as a number 2 running back. So therefore, you got to go through Sayers. You got to go, you bring in Isaiah Pacheco, who's a physical running back who's been broke up damn near his whole career. Guess what? He get injured on cue. Vaki back, his eye all bulging out, his goddamn eye socket and stuff from getting poked in the eye. Now you sitting there and you still, you bringing in Kareem Hunt and you doing all these things. It's like, damn, maybe you should have prioritized drafting a running back. Maybe that should have been the case. And now you prematurely traded David Montgomery. And maybe David Montgomery felt a certain type of way about, splitting carries with Jahmyr Gibbs, but they straight phased him out, So, when Ben Johnson left, that became the issue. Yeah, when Ben Johnson left, that became a huge issue, bro. Where they couldn't, the 2-back system, it died with him. Yep, the 2-back system died with Ben Johnson. And when he left, they didn't know how to implement it. And then, when John Morton was calling plays, it was an okay balance, And then when Dan Campbell got in there, he just literally flat out went away from David Montgomery. They was just like, hey man, kick rocks, ninja. They completely went away from him. So yeah, they got a running back issue, and Lord forbid, they have some more injuries to that backfield. It's gonna get filthy. And they were not prepared. They were not prepared. And hitching a wagon to Diego Pacheco, I mean, that should tell you everything you need to know right then and there. He's been injured the last couple of years, if my memory serves me correctly. And maybe they thought as a number 2 back he'd be more fresher, but nope, he injured. Right on cue. Most of the time NFL players don't get healthy. They don't. So, they don't get healthier throughout their career. So for him, now you're shuffling around for running backs. When you drafted the future in Vaki, you prematurely moved David Montgomery. Then you moved David Montgomery. The funny thing about moving David Montgomery, you moved him for Drew Stroggins. And guess what? You had an injury at center. And Drew Stroggins was the 2nd round pick out of Penn State. He was supposed to be a center. And then you drafted him for a guy you can't even use at center. He can't even beat out a kid from Ohio State who don't have much experience. He's struggling with him for the center position. What are we talking about? Bad move on top of bad move. Bad Brad. Bad move on top of bad move. So it don't surprise. It mind blows me. You know, and then you had, you know, I talked about it the other day. You had Roger McCreary, you know, who they brought in to play the nickel, and now he's saying that this the hardest practice he ever been in, and he had to adjust to the practice and all this, and it's like now you had two players in a row. Avonte Maddox came in from the Eagles last year, and now you have McCreary, who's with Tennessee and coming from LA with the Rams, and he's saying, you know, they both saying like, this is why you injured like this. And Dan Campbell is refusing to make the major adjustments in that, man. So, you know, you come in here, you bring a high injury guy and Diego Pacheco in, and then you fucking surprised when he get injured. Then you draft all these questionable, you know, players that's been broken up from Marcus Davenport, Peyton Turner, and, you know, guys like Josh Pascal, and then, you know, you be surprised why they so injured, and y'all practice way too fucking hard. You know, and I heard Dan talking about, yeah, I'm gonna just ease off the reins on practice. We practiced real hard the other day. Like, bro, they gonna have to fire his ass. I hate to say it, dog. If they gonna win the championship with Brad, you know, calling the personnel decisions, they gonna have to fire that ass. Cause he don't get it. He don't get it, bro. He don't get it. He don't understand. For the love of God, he don't understand. He don't. He gonna keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. But in general, now you have a running back issue. You know? So, and like I said, when Ben Johnson left, the two-back system left. And guess what? The two-back system arrived in Chicago. Ben Johnson knows how to implement two running backs together. That we do know. He knows how to implement two running backs together. Dan Campbell didn't, John Morton don't, or Dan Campbell don't, Dan Campbell don't. But hey, it is what it is, or it is what it ain't. Appreciate the love, support. Hit the link in the description. Find me everywhere: X, Facebook, Kick, Twitch, Instagram. Peace.